Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking with Rohit Srivastava. He's the Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager with Saroj and Bhanu Fund, an AI-based algorithm with predictive analytics. Before we're going to get to that, we're going to talk about last week how there was a double cup recovery formation, whether or not the index is still in a hold status. In regular news, there's evidence such as the yield curve inversion, which could result in the U.S. finding itself in the midst of a recession later this year or the first half of 2020. Banks are facing troubles from zero and sub-zero rates, generally inverted yield curves and tight credit spreads. And the eradication of interest rates could spell trouble for insurance companies, pension plans, and retired investors. So in conclusion, there could be a window of opportunity opening up with certain high-yield equities that are in out-of-favor industries setting up for a sin stock rally during the next economic correction or recession. So on the line with us, Rohit, you're here talking about this AI-based algorithm from last week's recovery to what's going to happen next week. Take it away.
Thanks, Josh. I'm very excited again with this update. Just giving a disclaimer before we start, which is this is all for entertainment and learning perspective. None of this should be considered as a financial advice or investment advice. So that's the first disclaimer. And like we talked last couple of weeks ago and last couple of weeks that this is an index which we created, which is an equally weighted index. Means like if you invested equal amount in each of these, that's what this value of this index is going to be. And these are the 19 stocks which you are seeing here, which are in this index. Some of them, they all deal with the cannabis, some in different ways, either for testing, either for farming or real estate or different kind of things. So a month ago, we were seeing that the index was in the downward trends, and we were looking at a support of $4.75. And there were two different kinds of patterns that were creating. And at some point in the middle of last week, you can see that it was actually reaching to a support of $5.35, which was like a fall support, like you can see. This week, it has fallen further down, and it is actually very close to the $4.75 support. Now this $4.75, so it bypassed these different support, which is $5.35, and the next support after $4.75 is at $4.25. Now this $4.75 support, which you're seeing, is a very strong support, and the reason is primarily because of the various buying levels that has been created in the past 2 or 3 years. But also from a Fibonacci retracement, it is about 61.8% from the highs.
That looks like it's about in correlation with the timing of Canadian legalization, and yet the market's dropped almost 62%, testing that support level of 4 3/4 to a possible new low of $4.75.
That's correct. And if it doesn't stop at that point, then the next support, which we should be thinking about, is $3.90, which is about 50% of the Fibonacci retracement. So this next week is going to be very critical. You're seeing that a lot of lows this week as well from like yesterday. But this next week is going to be very critical to understand, is it going to bounce back at this point, or it is going to further go down to $3.90 or $4.25, one of the two supports which we have. But we are really looking for one of those supports to hold up and bring back some of these stocks back up to a buying level point.
So a value investor could come in at 4 1/4 or even $3.90, set up an open order, and then feel pretty confident about being at the bottom.
That's correct. From a cash flow point of view, cash in and out, like we said, this is in a couple of weeks, that until it does not passes this average daily trade value, it is not a buy. And we have been seeing that there were some signs in the middle of August of that it's probably going to turn around, but it has not. It has continuously in the last couple of weeks, like this was on 9/17, and 925. This was last week. It has continuously kept on going down, and this week it has further even gone down. So this, like I said, like we talked in a couple of sites ago, that the next 1 week is going to be very critical, and expecting the buyers to jump in and start pumping money in this particular index. But this was the pattern it was following. It was forming, and this is the trend which we are expecting to change. And this is the average daily value. This is the average cash inflow value of that. And there is no positive signal at this point where it says that, you know what, it's a buy right now. But the expectation is that somewhere around where these lines intersect, that's where it's probably going to turn around and start seeing some cash value, money pumping into these stocks.
And we were also expecting a double cup recovery last week. That's what we were predicting, to see more of the same. However, I wonder how much of the negative news plays into it from the vaping crisis and some of the lackluster sales overall playing into this deterioration of what was going to be a recovery. But it looks like it's narrowing down. And so we're going to probably reach some kind of conclusion by the end of the year, still in alignment with our timing.
That's correct. And also what happens in the last quarter, it's the last quarter, people are already trying to take their profits for their funds. Now, this is a very small market cap. It's not a huge market cap, but regardless, they have been taking profit in the third quarter. Like you're seeing that, like there was a lot of profit taking in there. And some of the investors might try to pump up this particular index because in the last quarter, this was the most underplayed index. So there might be some buyers getting into this last quarter, and we might also not see a lot of activity until the first week of November. And mostly because a lot of funds, their decision on what to buy and what not to buy starts happening until the first week of November. So we might see some activity during that time as well. So we started this 2 weeks ago, where we go individual into each of these stocks, and each of these stocks have a buying and a selling signal and a stop losses. So this mostly is targeted for education for people who are short-term investors, not really long-term investors or wanting to buy in, but they're trying to buy and sell and trying to make short amount of money out of that. So this section is mostly focused on this. So on 9/17, these were the positions we would have hold if we were in the buying phase. And last week, some of these positions were in the sell mode, and we took some losses on the one which are indicated in the red, and the one which are indicated in the green and which has a sell date. Those are the one which we would have sold. Now, the other ones which are in green, those are positive in a profitable position, and they were also not having any signal to be sold. But this week, one of them was in the sold position, and we saw the algorithm would have sold them on 9/20/25 at a price of $2.81. Now, just giving you an idea that these signals are completely based on technical analysis and predictive analytics on when they anticipate that it has made a reasonable profit, or it has made reasonable gains, or it has broken the threshold of how much loss can be taken. So at this point, these three stocks, as of yesterday, are still a hold, where there is some reasonable amount of gains in those particular stocks. So overall, from a conclusion point of view, what I feel is, for a long-term investment based on the data and the cannabis index, the whole market is still in a downturn, but it is reaching a major support. So we want to be careful. We want to be cautious. We want to be careful and see if there's an trend going on, and probably try to get back into the market. And for short-term investments, there it's still true. It still holds true for a lot of these stocks that it can turn around. But at this point, only 3 of the equities which we are holding, which are ABBV, MBII, and PMD. And what we got out of this week is TRPX at a 17.808% gain. So that's probably an overview of what's happening with the cannabis market.
It's looking good, but ultimately it's pretty volatile. So last week we were expecting somewhat of a recovery. This week we're seeing that new floor supports could be established, but that is nearing the term of full support, where we can kind of see the bottom for what it is, and then look forward to some kind of recovery after a 62% drop. So you have to stay tuned next week and see what happens. So I want to thank my guest, Rohit Srivastava, Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager with Saroj and Bhanu Fund, talking all about this AI-based algorithm with predictive analytics. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.
Thanks.